Let's take a breath together. So this month we've been talking about mindful mavericks and becoming mindful mavericks. And we started looking at intention, this place where we literally put ourselves in a state of intention to stretch us, to stretch our purpose. And then we looked at mindful speech. And we've looked at mindful thinking. And today we're going to bring all that together and talk about mindful action. And I want to be really clear. What your mindful action is specific to you. Because we are each called to do something a little bit different. And so I think one of the most dangerous things we can do, especially in a time where we seem to, the whole planet seems to be in a state of tension, is to begin to compare and get in somebody else's lane and think that you're supposed to do what they're doing. If you were supposed to be doing what they're doing, you'd be called to do that, and you wouldn't be wondering. And so part of this mindful action thing is spending the time in our thoughts, is spending the time checking out our intentions, paying attention to our speech, and then evaluating, is this really representative of who I am? Because so much of what we do is automated conditioning. When we are first made in the womb, the conditioning literally begins at the biological level. And then the minute air hits us, our social conditioning starts. And it's generations of conditioning brought forward, some of which may have nothing to do with you. Some of which, most of which, when we really start unraveling it, many of us, if not most of us, are left with that, are you kidding me? This is the best we brought forward from hundreds of years of learning? And the short answer is clearly. I am often asked the question, does it have to be this way? And the only honest response that I ever have to that is apparently so. Because this is the way we're making it. And we're doing that because our thoughts are creative. Everything we believe is constantly being acted upon by creation to bring it into being. Now that's the good news, because when we change our focus, then we change what's coming into being. Too many of us, I think, try to change our actions without ever investigating our thoughts. And then what we bring forward is more chaos because we're acting out of congruence with ourselves. And so what people feel in our presence energetically is that energetic chaos that we're creating because we're not even sure what we're doing. The Bible says it this way: faith without works is dead. Science of Mind says treat and move your feet. For those unfamiliar with the term treatment, it's simply relating to Science of Mind's version of an affirmative prayer. It's that process where we first recognize what the infinite is. We recognize that because it creates out of itself, by itself, to be itself, that all life must be it in form, so everything that it is available to us in this human incarnation. And so then we speak that into being. We speak the power of that into realization, which will bring you, I promise you, to a state of gratitude. And once you have expressed all the gratitude, then you release it and move on, allowing that to change how you show up. In the human organism, we know scientifically, sociologically, psychologically, that our thoughts create our feelings create an urge within us to act. When we act on those urges, that becomes our behavior. That cycle repeated becomes our habit. Our habits repeated become a lifestyle. So, the process still is that one of changing our thinking if we want to change our actions, if we want to change how we consistently show up. I would love to tell you it's a one-time thing and then you never have to look at it again. That has not been my experience. My experience is every thought I have seems to be connected like this octopus with infinite tentacles attached to some other thought and some other belief, and they're all interwoven. And so as I unravel one, more pop up. I think that is the greatest opportunity we have. Because when we understand that at the core of us is perfection, and then we begin to understand that everything that we're dancing with is just removing things that aren't the truth of us, then it allows us to act from the center of our being, from our core consciousness, to act from our God consciousness, our Christ consciousness, our spirit consciousness, whatever word works for you. But to where we are acting from something different than our human conditioning. And that is being a maverick. Because the expectation is that we fall in line with what we're taught. And I invite you to know that there is something far greater available to us than anything that we have yet to be taught in human form. That allowing ourselves to be informed by that divine voice within that we call the soul, the very activity of creation within you. It will guide you. It will nudge you. It will call you. It will give you ideas that seemingly come out of the blue. Perhaps the blue that things like that come out of is actually the activity of our soul. Perhaps. And so when we're doing this mindful maverick thing, it's important to understand how faith works. Because faith is literally a belief that is so deeply held that we never question it. It is operating at such a level of certainty that we don't question it. Now, unfortunately, there is a lot of human socialized beliefs that are not the truth of who we are, operating at that deep, unquestioned level. There's a lot of folks right now who are actually diving into examining just exactly what we were taught growing up. And we're uncovering that the history that we were taught in schools, let's just say it's less than accurate. And I think it's fair to say some of it is outright lies. Because history is always written from the perspective of the victor. And so what we get is the victor's perspective. And we're beginning to uncover that perhaps it didn't go down exactly the way the books say it did. And for many of us, that's a painful process. And I invite you to consider that the pain that you're running into isn't the truth, but perhaps your resistance to the truth. Perhaps the pain that we each wrestle with is this deeply held identity of who we've come to believe that we are that is quite limited, and for most of us, quite inaccurate. What if you knew that you are a perfect, and I do mean perfect, and here I'm not talking about your behavior, I'm talking about the essence of you, that you are a perfect, intentional, on purpose, unrepeatably unique expression of the very heart of God. That it was never intended for you to be just like everybody else. See, I think when we get to the place where we know that, then letting go of the identity that we were taught that we are becomes so much easier. So much easier. Most of us, when we really get underneath and start unraveling our social conditioning, we're walking around with an identity that we don't even want. But yet, we've had it for X number of years. And so part of what happens in the ego is it gets a little freaked out. Because it doesn't know who it is without that identity. And so part of this mental maverick thing that we've been looking at this month might just be as simple as sitting down and having a conversation with your ego, much like you would a friend at the dinner table. To help your ego reframe itself. To help your ego understand that, yes, you matter, you are important, you have a place. But it's this place. You're not in charge of my identity anymore. You get to do your job, but I am going to assign your tasks now. Because most of us go through life with our ego driving our bus, even when it drives it off a cliff. And I invite you to consider that maybe the first activity, the first maverick action, is to put the ego in the passenger seat and to put your spiritual self in the driver's seat. That when those urges come up to act as if, when every opportunity is in front of you for a maverick action, whether it's in a conversation with a family member or whether it's in the privacy of your own thinking, to shift to that inner self and allow your inner self to inform your actions. They will definitely be outside the box. Not everybody is meant to be on the street protesting. Not everybody is meant to call their congressman. Not everybody is meant to write letters. But every one of us is the thinker in our own mind. And I guarantee you that if you will start the action of being a maverick in your own thinking, how you show up in the world will change. It has to. It has to. The law of creation is such that it has to. So there's a list of things to consider. 10 qualities of a maverick leader. Now, all of us are leading something, even if it's just ourselves. Okay? Whether you're a leader in your family, a leader in your center, a leader at school, a leader in your job. So these are applicable. Number 1, they are true-hearted and authentic. In order to get authentic, we've got to peel away everything that's not who we are. They believe in their own vision and ideas of the world. That one can get a little tricky because some of our ideas of the world need some revision. We get to wrestle with that for ourselves. They challenge the status quo. That's a big one. And it's an uncomfortable one. Okay? Because being the only one willing to speak up, even in a crowd of two, can be excruciatingly uncomfortable depending on who that other person is. And it can be as simple as someone who's about to tell an off-color joke, simply saying, I see where this joke is going. I don't want to go there. I would appreciate it if you would stop telling it. Now, there's going to be a shift in the energy when you do that. Just know it's okay. It's just a shift in energy. And then be attentive to all of the thoughts and beliefs that come up around that. They have strong convictions. What are you committed to? What are you convicted to? What is important to you that you will stand up for? They are courageous. Now I submit to you that courage is unnecessary unless there's a fearful situation. So perhaps navigating our fear is part of this process of having courage. Allow yourself to be courageous. Climb right out on that skinny branch and just know that even if it snaps, the divine that created you is going to catch you. You'll be okay. They listen to their intuition. And intuition is that voice of the soul within you. It is those divine nudges, whether we call it a calling or an idea, but it's different than our thinking. We recognize it by resonance. They use emotional intelligence instead of brain intelligence. Listen to your gut. Your head likes the status quo. Your gut is where the courageous place comes from. They make stuff happen. That's pretty broad because we're all making stuff happen. But I think if we frame it in terms of all these other things, we can really lay claim to we're part of shifting into a more clear representation of the divinity that all creation is. We make stuff happen. We enroll others to join us on our journey. Invite. Just invite. And then let folks choose. And they use their superpowers. So I invite you, I'm going to wrap up with this, to spend some time with yourself today. What is your power? It might be having conversations with people. It might be reaching out to people on the telephone. It might be opening doors for people. I invite you to consider what a superpower is, something that is uniquely, amazingly you, that feeds you and feeds the healing of this thing we call the one body. What is your superpower? How are you going to use it? Are you going to stay inside the box? Or are you going to be a mindful maverick in your actions? Let's take this into prayer. And so remembering that there is only one, recognizing that it is everywhere present. I know that it is present here. It is present now. It is speaking as me. Because it creates out of itself, out of the substance of itself, the activity of itself, to manifest itself in form. So all life must be it. So it must be speaking as me. And so I allow the words of the infinite to express its heart's desire, to be known in complete form, to be expressed in complete integrity. For the full power and presence, the wholeness, the completeness, the perfection of love, to be the expression in all life. That anything unlike the truth of it comes up for our examination, for transformation, to peel away everything unlike the perfection that life already is, revealing itself. We let that be the faith, the activity, the mind of the one moving itself into form continuously. And so I'm grateful to know exactly how creation works, that it is working as me, as all life. And because I know that with absolute certainty, I am filled with gratitude. And I can let go of any human need to control, and simply release the word of the infinite into the activity of itself, into the soul of creation, into the law of manifestation. We let it go, we let it be. So I invite you to anchor this as we say aloud together, wherever you are. Amen. Aho. Shalom. Ashe. And so it is.